A year ago today, Casey Mize made his Double-A debut for the Erie SeaWolves. He did so on the road in Altoona. The number one overall pick in 2018 had allowed just 11 hits in 31 innings at Lakeland, and he was ready for the challenge. He's with us to go over those innings in near perfection. Greg Gagne and Evan Giddings were on the call. Casey, we're glad you're with us. I hope you're doing well. How have you been keeping busy so far during this strange time without baseball?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to doing this. I think it's a pretty cool opportunity for myself and the fans and, everybody involved with the Tigers. Yeah, it's definitely been a weird time for everybody. But I'm just trying to stay as ready as possible because I think when this thing kicks up, it'll be a pretty quick turnaround. So I've had to make do with, whatever equipment I have and facilities that I have access to. But, luckily I'm very fortunate and I've been able to stay pretty ready and I'm looking forward to getting back to it.
Well, we miss watching you pitch. That's for certain. What do you miss most about the game you love?
Well, a lot of things, but I just miss being with my teammates. I miss the roar of the crowd. I just miss, the interaction and, competing at a high level. But like I said, the biggest thing is just being around your teammates every day, and going out to the field, competing in front of the fans that you love. So just all of those things.
Looking forward to those fans chiming in our chat room on Facebook Live as we go over the no-hitter Casey Mize pitched a year ago today for Erie. We'll get to the game, but days prior to that, your friend Alex Faedo and Drew Carlton combined on a no-hitter themselves. How much were you aware of that, and did they talk to you much during the game in your pursuit?
I was very aware of it. I was super happy for those guys, obviously, because that's such a great accomplishment. And, I love Alex and Drew. And I was super happy for them. I was down in Lakeland and, after I found out that they did it, shot them a text and, so happy for them. During the game, not a lot of people talked to me at all. So I definitely didn't talk to those guys much. I would have liked to, though. I like to interact with my teammates during the game, but I think everybody got a little scared to talk to me at some point.
I had mentioned you allowed just 11 hits in 31 innings in Lakeland, and your previous start was an 8-inning, 1-hit gem. So the promotion was well-deserved for you. How did you feel going into your Double-A debut against Altoona?
I felt good. I felt pretty confident. Like you said, I had a pretty good start to the season. I was a little nervous just because of the promotion and just new environment. And I wanted to make a good impression on my team. So I was a little bit nervous, but I was very excited, to move up a level and, play with the SeaWolves.
All right, looking forward to going through this game with you. So let's get to the first inning. You're warming up. You're getting fired up and psyched up. You and Jake Rogers have worked together before. What were you working on in your bullpen as you got ready to face the first hitter for Altoona?
I was working on throwing strikes because I was pretty nervous. And so I'm just trying to fill up the strike zone and just, try to offense back, back in the dugout. But I was just worried about throwing strikes.
How vital is it to throw a first pitch strike when you're making your debut in your mind?
Pretty important. I would have liked to have done it here. Unfortunately, I didn't. But I would say it's pretty important.
All right. So in this first inning, you get the leadoff guy. Eventually, we're going to see you hit this first batter. What happened during this spot?
So I started off with 2 fastballs there. So I get it to a 1-1 count. And then I'm like, all right, let's, 1-1, I usually throw a cutter. So, all right, let's drop a cutter in here for a strike and, get an advantage count. Didn't work out that way. I got behind it a little bit and I ended up hitting him in the back with it. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a long day.
That's the first thing that's going through your mind. There's going to be a long day? Really?
Yeah, that's not how you want to start a game. And I was like, okay, this is how today's going to go. So let's try not to make it too bad.
Does your mindset change at all after that kind of start?
I just settle down. I think that's the biggest thing is just, hey, fill up the strike zone. Obviously, a lot of game left. And so just if you fill up the strike zone and trust your defense, you're going to get some out. So that's really what I changed to.
Okay. How much were you aware that Tigers general manager Al Avila was in the stands.
I was very aware. Before the game, Al and David Chad and Jim Leland walked into the clubhouse. And I was pretty nervous because I don't think I'd ever thrown in front of Jim. So I was like, oh, Lord, the big three is here, so I hope I do well in front of them.
So with a man on first, you're looking for a ground ball, right? You want the double play. You're trying to get outs here. You get this double play. How key is this that allows you to exhale a little bit?
Yeah, it definitely does. To get the guy off the bases and get back in the windup in the first inning after a quick double play, definitely a sigh of relief and kind of allowed me to go back to work here. So that was definitely a big double play by my defense.
Yeah, your defense pretty good, especially your outfield. How much are you communicating with those guys while you're throwing, if at all, or is it just you and Jake Rogers at this standpoint?
Yeah, it's just me and Jake. I'm not really talking to the outfield a ton. I know the outfield is talking with our defensive coaches, and they do a lot of shifts and positioning and things like that. So I think they were in a lot of contact, but I didn't really talk to those guys a lot, except a good job because they made a lot of great plays during this game for me.
I try not to read too much into this, but while you're facing these guys and you're seeing their swings, are you noticing anything? That was a late swing there on a fastball.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely try to read swings. Like you said, the late swing on the fastball there, a lot of times that calls, to throw another fastball. But when I get to an 0-2 count, I'm normally going to throw a splitter, which I did there and I just missed with. But yeah, I definitely try to read swings as much as possible.
Swung on, lifted in the air, shallow left field. Gibson charging in on it.
Easy play for Cam Gibson to end the first. So despite that hit by pitch, you're in good shape. You go to the second. And this is a good inning for you. What's the feeling on the bench? I know you're not thinking no hitter just yet, but what's the feeling on the bench when you go in the dugout? What are you sitting there saying to yourself?
Yeah, good start. Now it's just time to get in a rhythm. Just settle back in and execute pitches. It's just still working your way through the lineup the first time. Just trying to keep the pitch count low because I was built up to this point. Throw some more pitches in this outing, and so trying to keep the pitch count low and go deep into the game.
Did they give you a pitch count going into the game?
They didn't tell me one, but the way we were kind of stacking it up is, the first game was like 5 innings or 50 pitches, and then the second game was 6 innings or 60 pitches, and it kept going up, an inning and 10 pitches. And at this point, I was, around 9 or 95 pitches around there. So I knew it was about 90 to 100 pitches would definitely be my max.
We don't see a lot of that anymore. We see the pitch count. We see once somebody gets to 100, we kind of expect the bullpen to get warm. Never really saw that for you, and we'll get into that as the broadcast continues. But right there, that's a nasty pitch right there. I mean, how good of a setup was that for you there?
Yeah, it was good. I was able to execute that. I was just trusting Jake a lot. He did a really good job behind the plate. He's really good back there, and he called a really good game for me. And I was just trying to execute whatever he called, and luckily we were able to do that there.
Did you have much time to game plan with Jake prior to the game? This is a foul ball that gets out of play, but how much time did you guys have a chance to kind of converse and go over a specific game plan?
Yeah, we did a little bit. This was the first game of the series against Altoona, and so we had a pitchers and catchers meeting. And so we were able to have that with all the catchers and all the pitchers, and we talked about their hitters, their tendencies and their hot spots and all that stuff. So we got to talk about it a little bit, but I don't like to look too much into that stuff.
There's another nasty pitch right there for back-to-back strikeouts.
Back-to-back strikeouts to start this inning. Mize starts him off with a fastball away.
Yeah, Owen, that guy, the second batter of that inning, I think was their best hitter at the time. He ended up, getting promotion to AAA and actually had a really nice season. And he was the guy kind of going into it that had the highest average, and he was the best hitter on that team.
Mize rocks and deals. Swung on, hit in the air, left field. Drifting back on it.
So not solid contact, even on the outs, just little pop-ups, 3 up, 3 down. What are you recognizing, if anything, about your stuff right now through 2? Anything?
Yeah, the slider's good. Fastball's up and just getting weak contact. And so I was really just trying to, put them away with the slider or elevate fastballs, to miss barrels, but find bats that miss barrels in a way.
Count evens up at 1 ball and 1
So we go to the third, and obviously still scoreless. I think lost in this was a pretty good pitcher's duel between you and the Altoona starter.
Yeah, he was really good. That happens a lot of time. You see a big game from a pitcher, and what really goes unnoticed, like you said, is on the other side. The pitcher on the other side kind of has to be in a groove, keep me in my groove a little bit, because if we're scoring 4 runs an inning, like I'm sitting in the dugout for 20, 30 minutes at a time, and I'm not able to stay in that rhythm. Their guy went deep into the game and did a really nice job, which allowed me to stay in my rhythm.
You get that first pitch strike. The concentration of keeping hitters off balance. How have you done so far here into the third and doing that to your satisfaction?
Here's the 0-1 pitch.
Yeah, I'd say pretty good. I'm just trying to mix pitches a lot. I throw more breaking pitches, than most. I'm about 50% fastballs and then 50% off speed. And so I'm just trying to throw everything I can for strikes and just keep them off balance.
Is there ever a thought where you're showing something too early in a game that you'd like to try? Jack Morris and I have talked during our Fox Sports Detroit broadcast where if you could get through the order one time just throwing fastballs, every pitcher would love to do it. Then you can surprise him. Is there a similar mindset as you get him looking right there?
Third strikeout for Mize.
Yeah, in college, our coach would always say, save your marble, save some of your stuff for later on. And sometimes I definitely am able to do that. But a lot of the time, I'm just coming out firing on all cylinders because I want to have, the best day I can. And so if I get through 2 innings while throwing 2 pitches and I get hit around a little bit, that's probably not going to be the best day. So I normally come out throwing everything I got and just trying to be really good from the start.
Larry Youngglove has joined the conversation. He wants to know why you wore number 32. Is there a reason?
When I got to college, they just called and said, "Hey, what number you want to wear? We got about 5 for you to choose from." And so I did some quick research and just, I didn't want to be a number that somebody had been to recently or a really good player or something like that. I kind of wanted to be my own. And I came across 32. I wore number 4 all growing up, and pitchers not really wear number 4. What a play by Derek.
Hey, that's a great diving catch by Derek Hill. He might be the best defensive player in the entire Tigers system. Every no-hitter seems to get some help by some spectacular play. How much does that cross your mind, if at all, on a play like that, do you think?
A ton. That's the first of, a few really good plays you're going to see today. That might have been the best. But the cool part of that play is I remember Derek coming back in the dugout and telling me, he said, "I told Cam right before that." He looked at Cam and he said, "I'm going to shift up and make a diving play." And he did. I mean, that's not a joke. He said, "Cam, I'm going to come up and I'm going to make a diving play." And he did. It's crazy how it worked out. It really was an amazing play.
Yeah, that outfield for you, Cam Gibson in left, Derek Hill in center, Jose Azocar in right, pretty special. What was the weather like that day? I mean, how conducive was it to your type of stuff, and how much do you like that type of atmosphere weather-wise? Somebody wants to know.
Yeah, it was cold, it wasn't too cold, but I prefer it a little bit colder, and so it was perfect for me. When it's that weather where it's really cool outside, like I just feel like I never get tired. I'm not sweating a bunch. I just feel like I can keep throwing, and so it was honestly perfect for me. The grip on the ball, sometimes when it gets cold, your hands get really dry and it's tough to grip the ball, but it never really got to that point, luckily.
I got to tell you, Case, I haven't seen you shake off Jake Rogers much at all. You talk about trust. You guys seem to have the utmost trust in one another.
Yeah, I mean, I respect Jake a lot, because I know how talented he is back there, and how much knowledge he has. So I'll shake a little bit, but for the most part, I think he had seen this team a couple of times as well, and so I just decided, put your trust in him and execute pitches, and it's probably going to be a pretty good day.
Am I right in saying that we haven't seen a lot of hard contact yet? I mean, you can tell better than anybody. What do you remember into the fourth as far as their swings are concerned?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of hard context yet. They'll send some balls deep in the outfield soon that you'll see. Cam makes a nice play running back into left center, and Derek has to trot back a bit to make a play. But there wasn't a ton of hard contact so far.
That's a good shot of the shift. How much have you embraced that as a starting pitcher?
It's kind of a weird thing. The shift is kind of one of those things. It can help you 3 times in a row, but if it messes up 1 time, it's going to make you really mad. Because, but today it definitely helped me more than it hurt me, obviously. And so I was the defense and the game plan that they had going into it obviously worked, and we stole a lot of outs that day because of the shift. So I was pretty happy with it that day.
It's got deceptive movement in the sense that Madras had no idea that was breaking down in him until the last second.
Now the broadcast is talking about the deceptive movement from you and the pitches that you're throwing right now. It seems like you've got them off balance.
Yeah, I just try to throw every pitch out of the same tunnel and then have them all separate when they get closer to the plate.
Now saddles under it and makes the catch. Just to the left of his hip. A nice play by Gibson as well as Azakar in the inning.
A lot of fans are chiming in right now, Casey, and they're saying they can't wait to see you in the majors. I know you can't wait to get there. How much do you look forward to something like that, obviously?
Very much. I mean, it's my life's work. It's my dream since I was a kid, and now it's kind of evolved into a goal and an expectation. But I'm still going to remember the kid in me that it's the dream I've had since I was, running around playing wiffle ball. I mean, so I'm obviously very, very much looking forward to it. And whenever I get that chance, I know there's a lot of work to be done before that day happens, but that'll be a really good day for me whenever that happens.
A couple plays standing out here in the fifth, Case. That Josh Lester long throw across from behind the bag. It may not have dazzled a lot of people, but that was a key out, especially because it was the first out of the inning, right? And because that's not an easy play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of those plays that the shift could have beat you there. But I think we were playing the line, and I threw a breaking ball there, and I get a lot of people pull that breaking ball down the line, and so we were positioned perfectly there. And Josh made a really nice throw across the infield. I mean, that's the longest throw an infielder will make, and he executed very well.
All right, we're going to see coming up here another play by one of your talented outfielders, and I don't know if this is where you're getting the sense, because we're in the fifth inning now. And at some point, as a broadcaster, you're recognizing all the zeros as well, and you're talking about it a little bit. When, as a pitcher, are you recognizing that things are working out for you, and it's been a special afternoon so far?
For me, it was very early on. Maybe the second and third inning, I was like, oh, I haven't allowed to hit today. That's pretty good. There's a lot of people that say they don't realize it, but I definitely realize it. So here's a nice play by Zoe. Really nice play.
Yeah, that's the play by Jose Azokar that might have been the most difficult. That and the Derek Hill play that really stood out for me in this type of game. I would guess it gives you a ton of confidence just to throw strikes because your defense was so good at Erie behind you. Is that a fair statement?
No doubt. I mean, at this point in the game, the defense is positioned well. They're making really nice plays. And so I'm just trying to fill up the strike zone and allow them to make more plays because, they showed up to play that day, and I'm just trying to feed them. And allow them to go out there and do their thing. And I'm just trying to go deep in the game. And so at this point, I'm just trying to throw strikes and let them play behind me.
Somebody in the chat room wonders if you miss hitting from your days in college.
I didn't hit in college. I just hit in high school. But I do not miss hitting. I definitely wouldn't like to do it in minor league because it's probably really hard. And I'm not very good at it. I like having control of knowing where the ball is going. I'd be pretty scared if I was in there and didn't know where it was going.
So another perfect inning, and you're feeling as confident as you have, I would guess, for the entire start. The sixth inning that we're about to see here is perhaps your best. 4 pitches, Casey, to get through the sixth. How important was that to allow you to go deeper?
Well, first, like, there's another example of the shift right there. We were shifted. Paredes made a really nice play there. That probably would have been a base hit. But yeah, I mean, you definitely need to have those innings, of quick innings that really allow you to go deep into the ball game. And you'll see a lot of pitchers when they go deep into games, they'll have a couple innings like this where it's 6, 7, maybe even 4 or 5 pitches. And luckily, I got one here that allowed me to go deep into the game.
That might have been the hardest hit ball right there. That shot to Lester, who made the casually easy throw over to Daniel Pinero at first base. I could be wrong here, but that seemed like that might have been the best wood on the ball so far in the start. And then
I would
there's the
probably
line
say
drive
so.
to Pinero.
Yeah, and Josh didn't play a lot of third base either. He was more over at first or DHing, and so for him to go over there, I mean, he looked really natural over there.
All right, so help me with this a little bit. As good as the 6th inning was, and it was stellar, the 7th inning may have been your most challenging inning. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I think a Walker guy here, I believe. Definitely a longer inning. It's just, I mean, they're not all going to be as easy as the 6th. And I think at this point I was, maybe getting a little bit nervous, like realizing what I definitely had going on. So maybe I was trying to be too fine a little bit, and then I ended up walking a guy.
Yeah, you get the first 2 hitters, and here's what I kind of noticed a little bit is that they're taking a little more time getting into the box too. They're stepping out a little bit more. They're taking their time. Do you get the sense they're trying to unnerve you a little bit? That was a sick pitch right there.
Yeah, the slider in the dirt. I mean, that's just trust and Jake right there to be a wall and block that up and throw him out at first base. But yeah, I mean, I started noticing a little bit. Hitters are going to try to disrupt my timing just like I'm trying to disrupt theirs, so it's all right.
So that's just the gamesmanship within the game, right?
Yeah, it's a part of it, and it's nothing I can get really mad about. I mean, everybody's doing it on both sides, so it's just part of it.
Ian Newsbury asks, what players have you watched that influenced the way you pitch, Casey?
Ooh, I wouldn't even say big leaguers. I would say the people that pitched with me at Auburn. Keegan Thompson shaped the way that I am. He was an older pitcher at Auburn that I really modeled my game after. Ben Bramer was the same. And then just older guys that I looked up to at Auburn that really kind of changed the way that I approach pitching and approach my work on a week-to-week basis.
Really nice play, by the way, on the backhand from Sergio Alcantara for the 2nd out. And then this is the battle that you were referring to. This is a long at-bat, and you end up walking this guy. Is there anything you're not feeling just right? Is there a pitch that you're trying to find during this at-bat that maybe you just couldn't find?
I'm not sure. I mean, I just threw him a pretty good cutter there that he fouled off. I probably thought he would have swung through that one, but he ended up getting some wood on it. I mean, there's just some hitters that just really gritty up there, and he probably he puts together a really good bat. Like I hit my spot there, he didn't bite at that one, and so I think it's just a lot of maybe a little bit of frustration on their side and just saying I'm not going to give in this time, and I'm really going to give this guy a fight, and so maybe it's a little bit of that.
On the chat room, Brooke Anderson asks, was there a moment where you realized you would make it to the majors in your childhood?
I don't know if there was a moment where I ever doubted that I'd make it to the majors. I mean, as a kid, everybody thinks, "Oh, I'm going to be a big leaguer." I'm good at baseball, and I'm going to be a big leaguer. And then you get a little older, and you're like, "Oh, well, it's not as easy as I thought when I was 7 years old." But I mean, it's what I've wanted forever. And it definitely wasn't linear where I was just trending towards that all the time. There were definitely some challenging times, but my goal never changed, and so. I mean, I was a pretty good player when I was young, but I started to get a little better than I really started shooting for something that I thought was actually realistic, which is playing Major League Baseball.
You had retired 19 straight before the walk. Were you upset at yourself after you give up the free pass with 2 down?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you never want to walk anybody with 2 outs, but I never want to walk anybody ever. I mean, that's kind of what I hang my hat on is. filling up the strike zone and not walking people, because I know I'm going to give up some big doubles and big home runs every now and then, but I need to keep those, solo. I don't need those doubles driving in runs because I gave a free pass. And so I don't like walking people, and that really upset me.
It's pretty easy to get a shot out of us, though, isn't it?
Yeah, the numbers at Auburn are eye-popping. I mean, you almost have to look at them more than once to recognize just how dominant you were, number one. But number two, the strikeout to walk ratio is off the chain. So I can understand why you'd want to, why you hang your hat on something like that. I think you throw 20 pitches. We talked about the sixth and only throwing 4. Here in this 7th, Casey, you throw 20 pitches. I don't want to ask if you're getting tired, because you're probably not. Your pitch count's still in good shape. But what do you think changed in this inning? Was it you, or was it the hitters?
I think it might have just been, me trying to be too fine, like I was saying. To that lefty that I walked, I threw a 2-1 curveball, which is kind of unlike me to do that. I think I was just trying to be too fine and not give up a hit when I should have just kept attacking. But like you said, throwing 20 pitches here, this is when that 4th pitch inning really comes into play. Because then that averages, 12 pitches an inning, which is right back on track. And so I definitely needed that 4 pitch inning to even get to the 9th because this 7th inning was so long.
It's a good question from Drew Van Harstevelt on the chat room. What's your favorite dugout snack? I like that question.
Yeah, barbecue sunflower seeds for sure. I crush those things. My mouth gets raw and sore from eating so many of those that I have to take it easy sometimes. But I love sunflower seeds, especially at barbecue.
Are you eating those while you pitch, or is that just while you're charting and watching games?
Yeah, that's just while I'm watching games. Definitely can't do that when I pitch. I know some guys that chew gum when they pitch, but I can't breathe when I'm doing that. So I'm definitely not spitting seeds or chewing gum when I pitch.
Do it again, 2-2.
Is there ever a time right now where you're like, man, I'm having a hard time putting this guy away. What am I going to use?
Next pitch, the 80th of the game for Casey.
Yeah, I think it's right now. And then I just throw a fastball to get it by him. Yeah, this is when I'm pretty upset. I'm just like, all right, here's my best versus your best. Let's see who wins.
Kicks and offers 2-2. Swing and a miss.
Love that challenge. That's awesome. Mid-90s fastball there. So you're through the 7th. No hit through the 7th, and we're heading to the 8th. And this is really good because this is a quick inning for you as well. How do we know you're back on track? If you were even off track in the first place, you probably weren't. But how do we know you're back on track here in the 8th?
Just the first pitch strike there is a really positive sign, that I'm just locked in and, trying to get these outs as quick as possible, because I know my pitch count's creeping up and I really want to finish what I started here. And I know Mark Johnson and Rabs in the dugout are getting a little anxious, because they know I'm creeping up towards my pitch limit, but they know what I have going on, and so they're hoping they don't have to make a tough decision coming up to pull me out of the game with a no hitter going on. And so I'm trying to make that a little bit easier on them by trying to get through this inning pretty quickly.
There was some speculation during the broadcast that this could be your last inning. Did that thought ever creep into your mind?
To my mind, I didn't want it to be, but knowing the logistics and the pitch count and all that stuff that goes on early in the season, I knew that it was probably in the minds of like I said, Rabs, our manager, and MJ, our pitching coach. But I was going to fight that pretty hard if they tried to take me out of that game. So I knew I wanted to finish it, but I just didn't know if like you said, Avila was there, so I didn't know if he was going to call down and tell him to take me out of the game, which I would have been pretty upset with. But luckily that didn't happen.
Yeah. That would be funny. You said that during the contest, nobody's really. That's awesome right there. I mean, inside corner, that was sick. You said during the game, no one really came up and talked to you. Is that a superstition on their part, your part, or how does that work in a baseball dugout when a pitcher's throwing a no hitter?
Yeah, that's definitely on their part, because I like to interact with my teammates and just cut up with them a little bit. I talked to Raj a little bit, but I think even towards the end of it, he kind of stayed away from me too. But if it were up to me, I'd keep talking to people like normal. But I think everybody kind of stayed away from me as best they could.
There's more weak contact there on the pop-up to Daniel Pinero. Somebody on the chat room wants to know, What did it feel like to have just been called up to Double-A and pitch so well? I mean, are you making a statement here in your mind?
Yeah, like I said, like I mentioned before, I definitely wanted to make a good first impression, and so I was very happy that I could make a good first impression with my teammates. But the big thing, actually, my thought was, I'm glad I did well, because if I would have done bad, then I would have heard, "Oh, welcome to Double-A. Like, it's so hard. You thought you were prepared, but you're not. So welcome to Double-A." But I was happy I didn't have to hear all that stuff. So that was good.
So another strikeout and another quick inning for you. So let's go to the ninth now. Butterflies churning a little bit faster.
Yeah, definitely. We actually had kind of a longer top of the ninth, and so I was just like, "Guys, let's get out and get me back out there." But I was definitely anxious and nervous here.
First batter, you start 0-1, and then this is very strange. I couldn't really follow this. You get a pitch clock violation. How unnerving was that?
Yeah, it was weird. I stepped off, and so I thought it restarts. He actually called me one for earlier in the game, which is the first time that happened to me, which was definitely really weird. I wasn't happy about it. Raj wasn't happy about it. Rabs was not happy about it, especially in that moment. I mean, I didn't think they would call that. It kind of threw me off a little bit, but I tried to just forget about it immediately.
Yeah, I think it showed an awful lot on your part, the poise that you're able to show, because then you get the ground ball. Right? You get the ground ball to first. I mean, the very next pitch. So obviously you didn't let it affect you. Is that just who you are? That's just your makeup, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't try to show any emotion unless it's positive. I think that just benefits my team and kind of beats down the other team. I don't want to, let them see me rattled, even if I am a little bit on the inside.
You mentioned Mike Ribello a couple of times, your manager. Any conversation with him in between innings?
I didn't talk with him, no. He sent MJ over to see how I was feeling, but I didn't talk to Rabs personally.
Nice ground ball right back to you. Did you have to collect yourself there, knowing what's at stake?
Yeah, definitely. One, I was nervous of making that throw, but the spin on that one was a little weird. That little comebacker that he capped. So I was hoping just to take it, field it, pick it up, make a nice throw to first. Take it nice and easy, because I definitely wanted to rush that, and I didn't want to sail that on.
This is the final batter of the game, but he's also the leadoff man in this Altoona lineup. So he's the guy you plunked to lead off the game. What's the approach here?
Yep. Just end the game as quickly as possible. I think just at this point, I'm not trying to punch him out. I'm just trying to get him out. That's why you'll see a 1-2 fastball called up and in. Normally, a lot of people would try to strike this guy out, but we have been executing the high pitch so well, so we do that here as well.
And here's where you got it, right?
Yep. Yeah, I turned it around before he even caught it, and I walk up to Jake, and we go crazy, and everybody runs in from the dugout. It was awesome.
Fourth no-hitter in Erie history. So you throw 98 pitches, 70 of them for strikes. How satisfying was that effort? How satisfying was that feeling for you?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was one of the better games I ever had, one of the best games I ever had. I was happy to do it on my Double-A debut, make a good first impression. Happy to get the win for my team. And so it was awesome. I was definitely satisfied.
I'll tell you, it amazes me. I mean, you're like a golfer. You ever talk to a golfer, they can go through an entire round, know exactly what shot they hit on every single hole. You can basically go through every pitch through that entire game. Is it just memory burn for you? Is it that special for you that you're able to do that?
Yeah, definitely. I can remember the better games better than the bad ones, for obvious reasons that I try to remember them. But yeah, I mean, it's just there's just things you remember about hitters, and there's things you remember about moments and how the flow of the game went, and definitely I was able to remember that one more than most. So it was a good day, and I'm glad I have good memories from it.
You go in the clubhouse. You're talking to your buddies who helped you accomplish such a great feat. You do the thing that you got to do with members of the media, as always, because they're tugging at you. When do you exhale and say, man, what a special moment that was?
It was probably, much later that night when it was all over. Actually, the first thing that happened when I got back is Rabs gives out a player of the game. And so he gave me that ball. And then my teammates start ripping off all my clothes and shove me in the shower. I still have sliders on. But then they bring out the eggs, milk, flour, syrup, everything you can think of. And they just douse me in the shower. And I, can't see, can't talk, can't do anything. And then I have to shower up and then do the media stuff. And so it was stuff behind the scenes that really make it all worthwhile. And the stuff that I'll remember forever. It was awesome.
Yeah, that never felt so good, I bet. I love the relationship pitchers have with their catchers. It's kind of like quarterbacks and their offensive linemen. What was the conversation like with you and Jake Rogers after that game? Because I'm sure that means as much to him as it does to you.
Yeah, definitely. It's just as big of an accomplishment to Jake as it is for me. I mean, he called those pitches. He managed that game, and I just had to execute. And so I just told him I was proud of him, and I thanked him. And I told him that it was just as important to him as it was for me. And so I hope he enjoyed it as much as I did.
Paul Morales in the chat room was wondering, Casey, what calms you down when you're on the ropes? Now, you weren't really on the ropes in this one, but it happens to every pitcher. So what calms you down? What are you thinking to try and calm you down?
I have a few cues that I think mentally when things are, possibly going wrong or about to go wrong. I just think of 3 really positive things that I can do well. For me, it's I tell myself that I prepared better than anybody on the other team, and so I'm ready for this moment. I tell myself I throw more strikes than anybody in the league, and I can fill up the strike zone whenever needed. And I have the best defense behind me, and so if I tell myself those 3 things, I really kind of settle down and I can go back to executing like I want to.
The thing I tell Tigers fans, Casey, about you, from what I've been able to gather in the last couple of spring trainings watching you, is you want to be great. There's a lot of expectations, but no one has more expectations on Casey Mize than Casey Mize himself. Where does that stem from, where you want to be not just good? You don't want to just make the majors. You want to be great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just how I've been my whole life. I mean, I've wanted to win at everything I've ever done, especially at a younger age, and that really laid a good foundation for me, mentally and physically to want to be great. And then now I'm in a position where, I'm surrounded by such good resources and people, and I have a great opportunity to be great. Now it's just really up on me to make it happen. And so I really want that for myself, and I want that for Tigers fans. I want that for my family, friends. I want it for everybody. And so I'm going to keep chasing it. Like you said, I expect a lot from myself, and I'm going to try to, make myself happy first, but then I really want to make other people happy with, my talent on the field and the things I can do off of it as well.
Lucky to have you in the Tigers organization. Stay safe, stay well. You and your wife, all the best. We hope to see you really soon, much sooner than later. Thanks a lot, Casey, for this. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.